Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to the All Balls Sports Show. Brought to you in part by True Love's Pizza and Grits at 1144 Riverside Drive. A discussion of any and all sports, local, regional, and national. And now, here are your hosts, Dan James, Eddie Bobo, Ty Cobb, and the coach, Vance Ballou.
Thank you, Bill Jones. Got a full house tonight for the All the Ball Sports Show. Eddie and Chip and Ty and Kurt and Coach Ballou. The coach, Vance Ballou.
Go ahead and get it out. Go ahead and say it, Coach. Roll Tide. Yeah, I know you want to get it out.
Well, it was said a few thousand times this weekend.
I've got a few thousand texts on my phone.
I could just imagine.
If let's put the coaching.
People felt so sorry for me they didn't even text me. I didn't get it, and I get it usually, but I was like, it was just not even worth it.
But let's get the coach in you to come out. If one of your players gave a two-fingered salute the way that a Tennessee volunteer did to the Alabama crowd, as a coach, what would your reaction be?
It would not be very kind. I mean, there are some differences between, thank goodness, between high school and college and NFL. And, I think if I was still coaching, that would be the thing I would stress to our kids. You're not in the NFL. You're not in college. You're here. You represent Columbia Central. This is high school. It's like this, and this. There's no good explanation for that.
But let's take Coach Vance Ballou to the second level.
Alrighty.
To the college. And you were coaching a major college like University of Tennessee, which obviously that's a joke. But anyway, because that would never happen.
Because they're
That'd
not
be
that
like,
desperate yet.
That would be like a magical.
We're getting there.
A magical.
Can't get much worse.
That would be like a magical Disney moment, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if you were a college coach and one of your players on national TV, and they were so kind on national TV to play that back on several occasions, give the two-finger salute. From a coaching standpoint, what would you do?
I would bench him, I'm sure. It's so easy to point fingers, but still.
He did.
He did.
Yeah.
Two of them to be exact.
He really was just expressing what all Tennessee fans think Alabama, but you just don't say.
There's just
Kind of what the time and the place, and that wasn't the time or the place. Yeah.
and there's so many. I mean, I hate to condemn somebody I don't know.
Right.
Because evidently he's got some good qualities, because he goes into the press conference apologizing. And, I'll give him credit for pointing out, I think his second sentence was, "That's not how my parents raised me." So, he gets some credit for that. But, if I'm a college coach, I'm thinking, I'm making millions already. I think I can do without this, regardless of what happens to me. I'm still going to be a millionaire with or without this, and I choose to go without it in that circumstance. And I also point out that's the huge difference between college and coaching high school. When you get fired in college, you're set for life still. You're still a millionaire.
When you're in high school, you're 100-aire.
That's right. You're very good. Good point. And, but there's so many differences between high school and college. And, and for the college side and those folks, they are in a different, business mentality, win mentality. Although the winning part is there in high school to a lesser extent, the financial side is there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, high school coaches get fired because of crowd size. Happens,
But there again, and I think a lot of our viewers don't know that even though a high school coach gets fired from his position as coach, he's still on the faculty as a teacher.
At least the rest of that year.
Yeah.
If he's tenured.
Yeah.
He's not tenured, which
Well,
is
that's
harder
true.
to get nowadays.
That's true.
That's a maybe. That would kind of depend on the
Right.
situation. So, But yeah, a tenured guy would. But you know, that looks so bad. You know, just you know, and he, in fairness, he's not the first young man to do that.
No.
He won't be the last.
No.
But I don't know what, you know, I know he got caught up in the emotions of it, and I'm sure there was plenty of them for the UT guys, especially at that particular moment. But how you feel that something good is going to come out of that,
Right.
you know, I don't know.
Do you
know,
think?
I understand you getting a little emotional and doing something. But that, you know, the outcome's bad all the way across. You know?
Do you think Saban took the throttle off at one point to not run the score up to so high to where it was like impossible for Tennessee to save any kind of face whatsoever?
Yeah, I think the answer to that is he kept, like we talked about last week, he kept trying to get the best out of his kids. But he went to a second quarterback really quick. It really surprised me that he went that early. And although he's, you know, their backup quarterback's really good, and despite what CBS thinks, he was known as a running quarterback. He was the top-rated dual-threat quarterback in the nation. So that goes back to an earlier conversation about TV commentators.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how they could get on the air and not know that is beyond me.
Because the person that does the research for them didn't find that out. Because that's it. They've got somebody that's done research that handed them the sheet that they've studied.
Or the producer in the truck
Right.
is talking to them in their ear.
Yeah.
They should have that information.
Yeah. Agreed. So, but you
There
know,
again, somebody
if you're-
dropped the ball.
But
I
if
think
you've
you
got
can
the
take
game, you know, that goes back to any time if you're coaching. If you've got the game, why don't I want to get my number one quarterback injured? Take the chance of something happening to them when I can put my number two in. Why you know, it just doesn't make sense.
Hey,
You know, if if it's a point, the point of the game may be, you know, in jeopardy or something, I keep them in. But
well,
it
that
wasn't
young
the issue.
man, no, there wasn't really a drop off.
well,
And you're right,
to
there
be
wasn't.
honest
There
with you-
wasn't.
And to be honest with you, I think he's a better passer than the starting quarterback is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was amazing with his running backs. You really couldn't tell any difference.
No,
You know,
I mean, third
the guys
string
they
or
had in
whatever.
there in the late in the third and in the fourth quarter, running hard. You know, I mean, just,
But there again too, Tennessee's defense was gassed. I mean,
They
because
were-
you know,
Oh, yeah.
They were spending
Yeah.
way too much time on the field. Was
Yeah.
the problem. Yeah.
yeah. When
Now, my
what did we have,
question,
3 first downs for the entire game.
right? My question to you is, how was Molly Shepard handling all of this on Saturday?
Wasn't good in the Shepherd household. Wasn't good. She at one point, I'd been marinating these wings and I was going to grill them on the
Hey,
grill.
Whoa, wait a minute. Did you get invited over there?
No, I didn't. And I'm just around the corner.
Yeah.
And I said, "When do you want to eat them?" She said, "I want to eat them at halftime." And I said, "Well, darling, that means I missed the second quarter because I'm out on the grill." And it was actually probably a good thing to be there because I could hear her. I mean, she wasn't happy.
You notice that Ty sitting here is not saying a word.
There ain't nothing to say.
well, I'll
Other
say,
than
I'll
I
say
don't
some
think
more
Tennessee
then.
can win out.
That's a good point. There's the stat that really popped out to me, according to the paper, 35 first downs to 7. I don't ever remember seeing that.
I don't remember Tennessee getting
I
7.
don't remember
7.
35 first downs.
how many was by penalty?
Yeah, I'm sure. I think they spotted them 3 too. But,
But you
that's
know,
beside the point. But,
it was pitiful, very pitiful. But
All right, Ty Cobb, we'll post this question to you. Butch Jones's future.
He finishes the season, but he doesn't come back next year. And they don't go up on my season tickets.
if anything, you should get a refund, shouldn't you?
I was thinking that watching the Patriots game.
Yeah.
With the fog coming in, I'm like, shouldn't they? I mean, Some of those in the upper
did you
deck.
see did you see the view from where the guys were sitting that were calling the game?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't see a thing.
Well, that's just like, what was it, a few years ago? Chicago was playing somebody and they had
They called the Fog Bowl. That was
fog rolled in and you couldn't see nothing.
The only camera that really had a view was the wire camera that was kind of directly over them.
Yeah.
And they were using that more. But
And what's really eerie is all that fog, and they do the foghorn inside of Gillette Stadium. Ship's coming in.
But I think Tennessee will make a move. I don't think Tennessee can win out. I think every game's going to be tough because everybody's got Tennessee on their radar to beat just because it's Tennessee. But it's going to be tough.
But at this point in the season, are there coaches out there who are chomping at the bit to take the Tennessee job, knowing that probably
You mean coaches that can win?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it costs money too.
Well, I understand that, but
If you're paying Butch Jones $4 million a year,
I'm okay if Tennessee pays $8 million to somebody.
As long as they get the job
They
done.
win.
Yeah.
And I think
I mean that. I mean,
let's face it. Alabama's got the best coach money can buy.
well, let's go a little further than that. Alabama's president said Nick Saban was the best investment the university has ever made.
That's true.
because you look at the ROI, you look at the return on investment, with the amount of money that Alabama has, University of Alabama has made off their football program because of Nick Saban. So it's an investment in it.
Now, wasn't it just a few years ago, Coach, that Bryant-Denny Stadium was just a piece of garbage? And then the other day, they're showing it from the blimp, and it's beautiful down there.
I can't say it was a piece of garbage.
I think you're
Was
that was
Legion
Field.
Field. There were a lot of places that had to be rebuilt.
Well, it has been
when they used to play in Birmingham.
Okay, greatly improved.
Birmingham, Tennessee, and Alabama
Field.
play.
Legion Field.
Legion Field's a dome.
Well, and that's where the Iron Bowl
okay.
always was.
It's
at
a
Legion
dome.
Field.
All right.
Yeah, Hall of Fame Bowl was there one year that Vandy
taken,
played Air Force.
I went to that. I went
I was
to.
there.
I mean, it's a dump.
Maybe it was Legion
Well,
Field was a dump.
they've taken the upper deck off of it.
A Legion.
Yeah.
Legion Field, and they still play the state high school.
Yeah, and
Finals,
it looks like since UAB's come back
And
into
UAB's
football,
come
they've
back
made some
with her.
improvements to it. I saw it on television a few weeks ago, and it looked
68, I
better.
saw the Jets and the Boston Patriots at Legion Field.
It's that old.
Wow.
I'm not,
I didn't mean.
Yeah. Hey, Ty.
Ty,
And I'm older than him, Ty.
I was
Thank
10
you.
years old, okay? I was 10. But I did see Joe Willie Namath.
That is
And they
impressive.
lit it up. It was like a 58 to 52.
You were 10, but Dan was in college, or he was broadcasting help for MTSU. So.
No, he was playing music late at night, and giving away albums.
When was that again?
Did you work
I mean,
with
what
Lindsey?
year? What year?
That was
68.
68.
No.
He was 70,
I was 71.
71.
71.
Dan, did you work with Lindsey Nelson?
Ooh. Well,
I'm
let
just-
me get a paper towel. And you got a little something coming out.
Well, we're going to be off.
Yeah, I think I just got tagged.
We're not going to have a show for the next 2 weeks. So I'm just.
Dan
Oh, yeah.
was
Trying to
like-
get your
We
digs
need
in
to.
now.
gave
Hey, we
away
need to.
albums and then would tell you, quit calling in. Leave me alone.
With the radio station. Yeah.
Hey, look, it was in high school in
Albums,
1971.
those are like big CDs. That's what they are.
Yeah, 33.
They're vinyl.
And they're 30 and they're 33 and a third. And 45s were the little bitty
The
ones.
little bitty ones.
Yeah. Columbia was the
78.
worst.
And the little bitty hole was the 78 RPM.
Columbia was the worst pressed 45 because the first time you put it down, a needle down on top of it, kids, I'm telling you, there were turntables and it was. When kids would come to the station, I would say, we're fixing to go see some dinosaurs. And they said, well, what is that? I said, it's a 45 RPM. I said, it's made from dinosaur blood, which dinosaur blood is oil. Okay. So I explained it in very simple terms to the Cub Scouts when they would come to the station. But anyway, the Columbia records were pressed so thin that when you put the needle down on the turntable on the 45, it would scratch it the very first time you put it on there. So every front of a 45 had on it. It was horrible. It was terrible. But the best sounding records in the world were 45s and 33s to real audiophiles who are out there listening. And they understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And their phones did not go off in their lap.
That was my Google Music new download. I don't know what 45 and 33 is. I thought you were talking about the 45-yard line. Tennessee got it past
I can
the
still
33.
remember the needle being messed up and you have to put a penny on top of it.
Yeah.
So it would
Yeah.
stay.
Done that many a time.
Yep.
What I remember is calling down there to see if we were going to have Scudamore.
The
we
important stuff.
thought Dan James decided that.
I did one
He did
time.
one morning.
There was one morning I did because we could not get a hold of Dr. Battles. Now this is a true story, and Eddie
That's
knows that
good,
this is the truth.
Oh, that's great. I knew we could do it.
Could not get a hold of Jerry Battles, so the newsman, who I cannot remember at this time, was trying to get a hold of him, and then Jerry finally called in, and he said, "Well, what's Dan saying?" Now there's 6 inches of snow out front of the radio station, and West 7th Street, is almost impassable at this point with 6 inches of snow. So Dr. Battle said, "Well, what's Dan saying?" The newsman said, "Well, he said schools are closed." He said, "Well, I guess they are."
And then they turned the lights out.
Yeah, I think Ross and I have called the radio station a time or two when Dan was working and say, "Is school open this morning?"
The greatest story, though,
So we
the
hang up on
greatest
the-
story from my time of answering the telephone at the radio station. But nowadays it's not the same way because you've got TV and you've got all these other places that immediately they throw it up on the screen. But back then, a guy calls up and he says, "Tell me about Murray County schools." I said, "Well, some of them are one story. There's some of them 2 story. Most of them are made out of brick." He called me a choice name. I said, "You asked me the right question. I'll give you the right answer."
And to this day, do not call Dan and request My Ding-a-Ling by Chuck Berry.
Nope.
Fair enough.
Or Afternoon Delight. Do not ever do that. While it's playing. While it is playing. Kids would call while it's playing and ask for My Ding-a-Ling by Chuck Berry. I said, "It's playing right now." "Well, I can't hear it." I
always
said,
thought
"Turn
you-
on your radio."
I always thought you loved doing swap shop myself.
Cane bottom chairs.
You probably know the phone number still, don't you?
No, sir, I do not. And I am happy that I do not. Thank you very much.
Oh, Lord.
But in our days of being involved in offices in the gridiron, we made a lot of decisions.
We
at
made
that
a
radio
lot of
station
decisions at 5
5
o'clock in the morning.
5:30 in the morning.
And we signed a lot of checks at 5 o'clock in the morning. And a lot of issues were dealt with at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I can imagine.
Oh yeah, it really was.
All
Back
taken
in,
care of, and
yeah,
didn't have to worry about
all
it
checks
till
written, all checks sent out. So not a problem.
I don't think I ever got my check that I remember.
It's in the mail.
No. We were dealing with your.
request.
Expenditures.
Oh, okay. Outgoing.
yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, you remember those little things you'd give me? You go in your pocket and say, "Well, I need to be reimbursed for this." Okay, coach.
Oh,
Okay,
you have to
okay.
pay people for
All
that.
right, there you go. Yeah, see, the reimbursement check. Anyway, we're getting off totally, completely off the subject.
Yeah, this doesn't have anything to do with the Tennessee coaching situation.
No, it does not. Absolutely. And Ty saying, "Thank
We were
goodness."
grateful for that.
So, do you think there's any way he wins out that he is retained?
Well, my comment was if he had beat Alabama,
Maybe.
No,
he would have stayed. But
I think the handwriting's on the wall.
Yeah.
That regardless of whether he wins out or not, I think this year he'll be done. I think there's too many.
But
the
if he wins
boosters
he wins a bowl game, he's got 9 wins. I'm just being devil's advocate here.
Well,
And Tennessee owes
It
him
depend-
$9 million.
it depends on who the bowl game is against
And where.
and where.
But
and
I don't think we're going to be talking about that in 2 or 3 weeks. I think they're going to.
No, I think they're going to lose to Kentucky this Saturday. I know they're going to lose to LSU when they play them. LSU's just too strong. And hey, Southern Miss ain't no pushover.
No.
No, Southern Miss will
Tennessee's
play them a good
offense
game.
is horrible, and Vanderbilt's defense is going south.
Remember,
That'll be real interesting.
remember the UMass game. I mean, when you think about, we'll beat them, I don't know that we can really beat
UMass
anybody.
won last weekend.
And we only scored 15 points against them.
Yeah.
I don't know that we can beat anybody.
UMass UT compared to Titans Cleveland.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a boring
that
game.
was-
I watched that game Sunday.
I didn't
was
watch it.
Boring. The Cleveland coach, he started out the quarterback that they drafted from Notre Dame, and kid's got an arm on him. I'll give him that. He's got a strong arm, but he makes some very bad decisions. And he was picked off 2 or 3 times, and coach finally said, "Well, enough's enough." Of course, 2 of them were when they were in scoring position.
But it really did not hurt Cleveland because Tennessee could not capitalize on offense.
Tennessee could not run the ball, nor could they throw the ball Sunday. I mean, with any consistency.
They were really fortunate they were playing the Browns. 'Cause
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the
Right.
only
If they'd been
team
playing
they
anybody
could
else, they'd
last
been
week.
They lost.
was the Browns.
Yeah. Yeah.
And probably the only one that could have come close to beating. But I think that game was worse than UMass. To me, worse to watch
Yeah.
because I mean,
At what
at least
point-
UMass was fighting the Goliath.
Well, I'm going to tell
thing
you,
going
I'm
on
going
there.
to be as honest as I can. If the starting quarterback for UMass hadn't have gone down, I think UMass would have won the ball game
Yeah.
because they were.
I agree with that.
They
I
were
think he's
moving the
right.
ball good,
Well, we were debating today. Maybe y'all know how many touchdowns Tennessee has scored this year.
Not many. They
Wow.
They
Single-digit.
did
Because
in
they
the
went,
first
what,
game
10
against
quarters without
Georgia
scoring
Tech.
at all.
They
Right.
scored
And now
something.
and that was a defensive quarter.
Yeah, and
the
offense.
defensive
Yeah, we're talking
score, right?
offense.
Yeah, offense.
Yeah, we
I think it's
have
less
offensive-
than 10.
Maybe I can do some while y'all talking. I'll do some
They,
checking. See what I can.
That
at
was
least
the
come up
first
with.
touchdown since the UMass game.
Yeah, but it was
was,
done by
yeah.
the defense, though.
It was done by the
Interception.
Offense has not scored a touchdown in over 10 quarters.
6 points and a double middle finger.
And
He went for 2.
and the thing it is, Butch Jones made the comment that he was not making a change to the play calling.
Yeah, it did.
I don't think he'll make a change in anything.
So,
What do you call? Because they're not executing anything that
no.
you're calling.
Well, the offensive line stinks. I mean, they can't block nobody. So the quarterback, he's running for his life most of the time.
He took a beating
Oh.
Saturday.
He did.
Oh, especially
But
on
he
that,
kept getting up.
especially on
Yeah.
that sack at the end of the first half.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He got his
Wow.
helmet ripped off, and then the
Oh.
guy rolled across his face with,
With his buttocks.
We might have 10 or 11 looking at this. That's
10
it.
is what we were
For the whole season?
We scored 42 points against Indiana State, 42 points
Forgot
against
about
Georgia
that game.
Tech, and I think it was 2 touchdowns against Florida. We lost 26-20. Then we had 17 points against UMass. I was wrong. I thought it was 15. But I'm not. Was that 2 touchdowns? We think and a field goal. We probably
Think
10 to 12 is what I'm thinking. But we have not scored a touchdown since UMass as far as offense, and that's been September 23rd. So 4 weeks.
Month drought.
yeah.
Well, if we don't have any offense against Kentucky, I think that tells us what the rest of the year is going to be like. I'm talking offense.
It's bad to get beat by Alabama, but that's usually a given. Bad to get beaten by Florida, which sometimes is a given. But if you get beat by Kentucky,
Well,
and then you get beat by
I
Vanderbilt.
can lose to Kentucky before I can lose to Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Going down the stretch.
here's the thing in a nutshell.
That's me.
Butch Jones has not been competitive against the better teams in the SEC. Period. He has a losing record against all of them.
Well, you tell me the big game he's won.
This season he hasn't won
You
a big
can't
game.
count Virginia Tech. I'm talking about in his career.
SEC.
He didn't beat Oklahoma.
No, he beat
and had
Florida.
a 10-point lead.
Last year he beat Florida.
They lucked out and won the Georgia Tech game. You know,
They easily could
lost.
they could easily only have one win right now,
right?
and that's the Indiana State win.
Right.
Well, they won against Georgia last year.
Georgia
Yeah, that's
and,
right, on
and
the Hail
Florida.
Mary.
And Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
the Georgia
consistently,
win
that's
would
been
be
the
his.
problem. Consistently, he has not played well against good SEC teams. I mean, he hasn't. He doesn't have a good, and I think that's what
I think
the backers are upset about.
I
that.
think
That's
he's
what
only
matters.
won
Yeah.
like 3
It's not that you got to
games
win every
against
one,
the
but
top-
you're not. Yeah.
But
top
you know,
teams in
Top
the
tier,
SEC.
yeah.
Yeah.
it's really
He's only won 3 of those games.
since the Georgia game, it's really gotten silent on Rocky Top. And what do I mean by that? I'm talking about Peyton Manning. He's not saying anything. Your other superstars, they're not saying anything that played at Tennessee. Coaches aren't saying too much other than Philip Former said he knew how
he feels.
how you feel.
Being
So,
on the hot seat.
Since Georgia and Peyton Manning was in the ball walk, I was at that game with his little boy, and they were walking, and he was defending Butch. But after that, it's been
After
silent.
halftime, he was gone.
Because they're going to let Butch hang himself.
I used to listen to Butch's press conferences.
It's the same
It's the
thing.
same thing. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't even listen to ball call.
It's a broken
This week, I was
record
just-
with him up there at the podium.
I go
It's
back
just-
to my statement when they heard him.
We're being
What was-
tested. We're
what
being
was-
tested.
When you look back at
We
Barry
were
Dooley's
failing.
tenure, what was his biggest win?
against Cincinnati.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
And Lyle Butch Jones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati was favored in that game.
Yes, they
by
were.
quite a bit.
Yeah. So we beat. That's why I said we'll end up hiring the UMass's coach is what we'll end up doing next. So, seems to be our pattern.
Or Indiana State.
Or Indiana State. Yeah.
I'd say there's somebody out there in that category that could get the job done.
I agree
It's a
with that.
matter of finding the right one. I don't think hiring Butch Jones, in theory, was bad at all. Like I said last week, I think it's very difficult
For the money.
for somebody
Yeah.
to come in and be successful. But their best shot probably is somebody that's somewhat unknown, but that's very, 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 very good.
Did you
And
see
there's somebody out there like that.
But wasn't Butch virtually unknown at the time he came to Tennessee?
Not as much as UT fans in general thought. I
Right.
mean, he was on the national scene at Cincinnati because he had won some big games, and they had some good
and they had
years.
recruited some big players to play.
Well, and in all fairness, he's recruited some really good players.
Yeah.
He has done a good job.
He
in
just
that-
haven't
in
been
that
able
Which
to
regard.
coach
proves
him
he's a
up.
great recruiter, but he's a
Yes.
horrible
That's okay.
coach.
Yeah, he can recruit. But I want to say this.
Who was it a few weeks ago fired their coach? Was it Oregon State?
Yeah.
And he was due like $6 million buyout. He told the school to keep it.
Wow.
Said keep it.
That guy's not married. I bet.
Not anymore. If that's
We've got
But Vance, he may have had a very good bank account.
That's true.
Yeah, he probably
$6
made
million.
several million. Yeah.
Like you
from
can keep it in my
Adidas,
pocket.
Nike, or who?
Yeah.
That guy's wife beat him up when he got home.
You said what? All right, let's change gears and talk a little bit about Columbia Central. 66-0 hammering of White County last week. The young man, Vance, that was hurt, that caused the end of the game with about 4 minutes left to go. Of course, it didn't make any difference at that point. But he took a heck of a hit from somewhere. We're not sure. We look back on the film, but we're not really sure where he got hit.
Yeah, all I know is the officials said they saw them run together, and our guy got up right away, and he didn't respond from it as far as getting up. Now,
Right.
I never saw a point when I was out there where he was not able to move all four limbs, which is a good sign. But they were, it was precautionary, and since he was having a back and neck pain, they wanted to make sure that they immobilized him. And Ty can answer that a whole lot better than I can, but they took the precautionary steps, which was great, and he checked out okay, so everything was fine.
Good deal.
Yep.
Good deal. Because we don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Yeah, I don't know if it. I was told that night that was somebody had actually told me that young man, that was the third time that he had a similar injury. He had gotten hit and pain in his neck or back, and again, I don't know if that's completely accurate or not, but if that is the case, after 3, I'm like, if you're my kid,
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
you enjoy watching football. I'm just not taking a chance anymore.
Don't remember his name, but he was number 23. Right. We do know that. But the most telling thing, and you can get into this if you want to, was the fact that both teams came together to pray for the young man in the middle of the field.
I was so excited to see that both teams, our kids were getting ready to get to pray anyway, and they said, well, let's just do it together. And they got together in the center of the field. I got a photo of it, and I actually posted it on Facebook, and it's been shared several times. Just as and a couple of other parents did that too, and I'm so excited about the team. And I'm excited because that's the character you want to instill in your students. That's what. As a coach, that's what you're wanting your young men to grow up to be godly men. That's what you're desiring for them, and so I'm so glad that's what happened, and it's just it makes the game wonderful. I mean, it really does. So.
How many points have we ever put up on that scoreboard, Coach? Not that scoreboard, obviously, because that's a new scoreboard. But I mean, how many points has Columbia Central ever scored in a game? Somebody was telling us it was 69 or
yeah, that's written somewhere, and I just cannot pull it out of my brain. 69 does sound right. I know there's been 65 scored a couple of times, I believe. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up.
Eddie's going to go find the manual or the program. It should be in there.
That's probably where I saw it. Yeah,
could be. Because Wilbur Davis was up there last night with us during the JV freshman game, and he was saying that Coach Claiborne had called him on Friday night and wanted somebody to call me to make sure I mentioned something about the points being scored up there. So, of course, when a player gets hurt, we stop everything in the press box. We don't make any announcements. We don't do any of that stuff until we find out what the condition of the young man is. And unfortunately, we stopped the game. A lot of things went on, and I didn't get a chance to mention the fact that Jackson Harris was there on Friday night from Georgia, and with his mom and his lovely girlfriend. Yeah,
sweet young lady. Oh yeah, I
wow.
had a chance to meet her.
Yeah,
sweet girl.
But and I think, Coach, and you may disagree with me on this. I think Jackson's gotten bigger and taller since he left Columbia Central.
Yeah, he definitely looks especially taller.
And part of it because he still had baby fat, a little bit of baby fat, and he's really lean, gotten a lot leaner, more muscular, and I know he's grown some, but it makes him even seem even taller because of the leanness of it.
No, I know he's taller, or I'm getting shorter.
Well, he has grown too, but all of that together, I mean, just
I mean, he's all muscle now.
Mm-hmm.
Talked with him a little bit, which was not too much before the injury occurred, but he was talking. I think Roger was there. Somebody asked him about his class schedule and all that stuff, and he pretty much laid it out that it's 6 a.m. to midnight every day.
Wow.
Between going to class and films for football practice, workouts, study time, and all that. It's about an 18-hour day. So he's, I think he said, about a year away from graduating.
Wow.
In engineering.
But he's a
good for
young
him.
man. We couldn't do
Yeah,
that.
he is. Yeah. Oh no. No.
There's no way. Now, when something happens like that, Vance, you being a athletic director for football, when something like that happens, what gear do you shift into when some player gets hurt?
It really depends on who is there. Now, the officials have some authority, of course, but there's no doubt that they're going to stop the game and that type of thing to take care of the injury and then make any decisions down the road. In our situation, fortunately, we have SROs on at the game and other security. They actually called for the ambulance even before I could get to the field, which is a good thing. And so that's, you've got those guys to help. We have EMTs on the site usually as well, and they got there quick. And before the crowd realized it, they were on those. And then the ambulance came and took
Station
care of
2
the rest
responded with their first responders.
Yes, and so we're really fortunate. We talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago, last time I was on. To have the situation we do, almost always we have an ambulance there. Unfortunately, that was the first game all year where we haven't had somebody there the whole time. In fact, the first time in 2 years. But we're right there at the ambulance hub. We're right there at the hospital by the fire station. I mean, and we've got SROs, at the game, and the police are not far away either. So we really could not be better located than what we are for something like that. But whoever the emergency personnel are that are on the scene, they take care of the injury and things like that. The coaches made the decision not to continue playing in that situation. So kind of like always, I end up standing around and watching a whole lot. So that's pretty much what I have to do.
And I had several parents ask me, I thought you have to have an ambulance here tonight. I thought the ambulance is supposed to be there. And I think Ty can probably talk about it a little bit more. I tried to explain to him. I said, well, yes, they're here when they can. I said, but if they get called away, we've had them at ball games before and they've had to leave. I said, they're just busy tonight.
Yeah, and that is exactly right. When there's calls happening, you have to deal with what's happening then. If it's a MVA or motor vehicle accident right down the road, or you might have 6 or 7 911 calls come in within a 30-minute span, that's going to put a lot of workload on EMS. That's where we come in too. I mean, but Central Stadium is right there beside the fire station. So if you have those type of injuries, you mobilize the patient, don't move them. We can be there within 2 minutes, and then EMS is going to get there to transport. I think TSSAA, if I'm not mistaken, they still strongly encourage that an ambulance be at that athletic event. But
it's not a
things happen.
requirement.
Yeah.
And and I can attest for the last 20 years we have had excellent care for not only our players, anybody attending the game that have had a situation come up, and then they've always taken care of it. They've always been at our games. They've always sit around game after game after game without, a call, without being needed at the ball games, which is a tremendous commitment because I know they've got a lot going on, like what you're talking about. But people talk about ambulances having to do so. It's just like what you said. Even I understand this time. Ambulances have to answer calls.
That's right.
They're not going to not go to a call because they're sitting at a ball game. Now that never's going to happen and never should happen.
We're lucky. We've got both teams the other night had certified athletic trainers.
That's true.
That's
too.
a big help. That is amazing.
Yeah.
And we usually have, most of the time, we
team
have
doctor.
a team doctor, which in our case is really good because, again, we've got the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
We've got the Bone and Joint Clinic right here. So
Dr.
we have
Jonathan Pettit.
Yes, Dr. Pettit is orthopedic surgeon, doctor right there on the sidelines. And that's one of the things we go over in the pregame meeting that you make the announcements about. We tell them where the ambulance is, where the security is, that trainers are available, doctors available, and all that stuff.
Can anybody tell me where Bowen is located at?
Bowen.
Bowan.
Bowen.
I'm gonna bet that's an old school.
Yeah.
That, like, I'm guessing like
Has to be
Bowen,
an old
Memphis.
school.
I have no idea.
None of us were alive at this time. But in 1916, Columbia beat Bowen 93-0.
Wow. My goodness.
At home?
Well, it don't tell
He doesn't
whether
say
home
that.
or
Yeah.
away.
Obviously,
I got
they
it.
hung the score. That guy was wore out.
obviously Bowen had no defense.
I've got it figured
Or
out.
offense either.
1916,
1916.
World War I, we
Yep.
defeated the Germans. What was it? 91-0.
93-0.
93-0.
Wow.
And
It's
the other
incredible.
nice score I found in here, that, unless I overlooked one, prior to the other night, was 63
Okay.
points that Columbia scored.
Well, let me tell you something about Vance Ballou being the athletic director of football. This guy is a ninja. You will look down at the left-hand side from the press box at the field house for visiting football. He'll be standing down there. Then you look away and you look back, he's gone. The next thing you know, he's standing behind you in the press box. He is a ninja at that Lindsey Nelson Stadium more than anybody I've ever seen in my life. He just appears. And then I'll ask Philip, his brother, I'll say, where's Vance? Oh, he's down there at the concession stand. You look at the concession stand, he may be there then. You look back at Philip, he turns around, he's gone. He's ninja'd somewhere else. He's everywhere. Don't ever turn your back on Vance Ballou. He's ninja. I'm telling you, he is.
Yeah, when you stand still, you have to work. Got to keep moving.
Keep moving. They
Keep
think
moving.
you're working.
That's right.
and you-
There you
yes.
All right, what are we looking like, Coach? We go into the game Friday night, and if we beat Page, if we beat Page, then what does that do to us in the region?
Okay, we're playing for third. So if we
Okay.
beat Page, we're third. Page is fourth. Vice versa if Page wins. So, and if we're third, I think the most likely thing is Hillsboro, but I'm not positive on that. And of course, they've still got to play their games Friday night as well. If Page wins, then it'll be Beach, and we will be on the road either way.
Oh, that's a beach I don't want to go to. I love going to the beach, but not that one.
Not that one.
No, not that one. Hey, look who just showed up. Maurice Patton from the Daily Herald, ladies and gentlemen, has joined us on the All the Ball Sports Show. Hello, Maurice Patton.
How are you guys doing?
We're doing fine.
Great.
How about
I
you?
ran Ty up.
No, Ty's
He said he was going to have to leave early.
he's getting his Mountain Dew, and then he's
Got you.
getting gone.
He got mad when we were talking about GT Alabama.
I don't know that you have to talk about UT to make Ty mad right about now.
Good point.
I won't say what Ty said. I'll leave it alone because he is a man of distinction.
Well, and
Yes, he
this,
is.
I guess this show isn't governed by the FCC, is it? So there you go.
No.
For the first time in my life, for the first time in my career, I'm actually on a show that is not governed by the FCC. So it's a wonderful thing.
And
Even though I have been trained not to use certain language, and the reason I don't is because I have always kept the vision of a small child in the back of my head saying, is that the kind of thing I want to say for him to hear? And that's and I've done that since I was very small in this business.
But while you've been trained that way, Ty hasn't. And talking about UT football, I'm sure it gets tested.
No, Ty will.
Ty was very good.
No. Now Ty will. He will bite his tongue, and he will hold back.
Yeah. Ty's a politician, too. You gotta remember.
That's right. That is right.
And the number one thing in Dan's career that he learned not to say on the air was booger. He will not say booger on the air.
That's the
That
eighth
came from
word.
WKRP in Cincinnati.
That is the eighth word. There are 7 others.
Johnny
you're not supposed
Fever.
to say either. Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing about KRP in Cincinnati, the first night that we watched it, there was a group of us disc jockeys, and at that time, children, we were disc jockeys at that time.
It was actually a disc.
It was back in the good old days of radio.
Get off my lawn.
And we would, and we sat there and we watched this and we said, "My gosh, these guys are us." Except we never had a Lonnie Anderson for a secretary.
No.
never had that.
No.
But yeah, it was incredible to watch it. And the guy that actually wrote WKRP in Cincinnati was an actual disc jockey. And he had all of his experiences over the years.
And as God is my witness,
I thought turkeys could fly. Oh, the humanity! They're dropping out there, just hitting the pavement. Les Nessman, winner of the Hawkeye News Award. That's what it's. Yeah.
Because of that show, which I was a child, I really thought turkeys could fly, but they can. Maybe not from a helicopter. They can fly.
Yeah, they can fly.
Yeah.
For short
Ground like
distance.
sacks of flour.
Yeah, they don't climb them trees. They got to get up in them some way.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, it was great. Oh, KRP in Cincinnati, the great turkey drop. And we're coming up on that, by the way, with Thanksgiving and a few weeks away. That's right.
Hey, let's not rush it. We still got Halloween.
Oh, I know. And that's something we'll talk about. We're not going to be here for 2 weeks. We're not going to be here next Tuesday night because of Halloween. Obviously, with these guys in a room and kids ringing the doorbell, it just wouldn't work. And then personal time for me the following week, and then we're coming back on the 14th. And I believe that we're going to have the head baseball coach for MTSU.
Jim McGuire.
Yeah, Jim McGuire is our guest.
Mags.
Yeah.
He can give us an update on.
Well, you can come back.
I'll see if I can run through here. But we can try to get an update on the young man from Spring Hill who had Tommy John surgery this summer, Bryson Thomas.
Does Tommy John ever get any money for that?
I hope he does. He sure earned it, hadn't he?
I don't think Lou Gehrig's widow ever got anything from ALS.
For sure, a dime of that money, yeah.
Well, that's not like Forrest Gump.
It's a $1 million wound. Right. Maybe the government keeps saying, 'cause I never saw a dime of that money.
Yeah, $1 million wound.
All right, so Maurice Patton, what is new in your world?
Just getting ready for Friday night and trying to figure out who's going to go where. I know that you guys were talking about Columbia Page and how that winds up, but I got here right about this time a year ago, maybe a couple weeks earlier. We've got a shot at having all 5 Murray County football teams in the state playoffs this year, which I think what we had last year, 2. Spring Hill and Columbia Academy. Mm-hmm. Zion gets in automatically because everybody gets a trophy in Division II. But Central's locked in. I'm pretty sure Spring Hill is locked in. Obviously, Columbia Academy won their region championship last week. Mount Pleasant needs to beat Moore County and then needs some other things to happen, but they've got a pulse out there, which after going 1-9 last year, it's a heck of a job by Bronson Bradley and that bunch. So
what about Central going 0-10 last year, and now we're positioned where we are to go to playoffs?
So that again, Jason Hope's done a heck of a job over there. Really done a great job getting those kids to believe in themselves. They got off to a hot start. They've kind of sputtered a little bit here not last week, but
against
in the 3 or 4 weeks before that. But you know, it'd be nice if they could go up to Page and continue what they did this past week against White County and go in with a little momentum, especially since, as Vance said, they're going to have to go on the road, whether it be Gallatin or that other team,
Beach.
who shall be unnamed.
Remain nameless.
Yeah, yeah. But again, if they could go up to Page and win and get the number 2 team out of Region 6, you know, you got to feel pretty good about their chances even on the road.
Good deal.
I think it'll be important. You know, we're going to be traveling, so I think it's really important that we have our fans show up. That really does help. You know, if you've got a large fan base when you're playing on the road, especially in the playoffs, that's a big help.
And I tell you what, I think, you know, from my years at my previous place of employment, I think that's one of the things that was recognized and appreciated about Columbia Central football. You know, you know when those guys are coming to your place, especially this time of year, they're bringing some folks with them.
And the one thing that we found when we were paired up with Williamson County schools, even as close as they are, they do not travel well because there's always a home game in Williamson County on a Friday night.
Well, I think it's different, though, regular season versus playoffs. I think, like you said, there's a game closer, and you know, if you want to do something, you can find a way. If you don't want to do it, you can find an excuse. But I think for the playoffs, I think that tends to pick up a little bit. But yeah, wherever you guys wind up a week from Friday, it'd be nice to have a bunch of purple and gold in there with them.
Well, that's one thing I say. Our guys travel well. I mean, our fan base travels real well. If they go to Beach, they will pack the Beach stands with not only band but also with the fans that go.
I don't look forward to that drive as much as
No.
anything. If that's
Now,
where it
here's
winds
the
up.
thing. I'm a Lions fan. You know that. Have been for ever. But the thing is, if Eddie and I have gotten to the point, Eddie and I are like road warriors, except when it rains or it's cold. Or both.
Since we don't have the luxury of being in the booth.
That's right. Exactly. We've gotten spoiled to the press box. We really have. And that's the reason I went in 12 to the state championships, but I sat in the stands, which was unusual for me. And I got to sit next to Elaine Harris and her husband, which was interesting because she's screaming. I mean, she's a screaming Mimi out there, boy, when Jackson was playing. And
Galen just sitting there.
He's just sitting there. And the thing is, I'm watching the game, but I'm watching it from a whole different perspective because before that, at the championship games, I was used to being in the press box. So and that's the first time I'd sat in the stands in years. So
it's different.
It's different.
It's different sitting in the stands when you're not used to it, because I've watched a couple of games in that situation myself. I'm used to being down on the sidelines or in the press box, and when you're actually sitting in the stands watching, particularly a high school football game, it's a little odd.
It is odd.
Yep.
When you're not used to it.
Yeah. When we went to Summit this year, that speaker just kept blaring in our ear over there.
Wow.
Loud.
Summit has where their scoreboard is, they've got 2 huge outdoor speakers that are set to like 10 on the volume.
I think they're 11 on a scale of 10.
But when you walk by that scoreboard where you have to go around the track area, it absolutely blares to where it's just you can't listen to it. And then of course they're playing that jump up song now that everybody's playing. That somebody told me the other night. They said, "You play that one more time," because we heard it all night long at Shelbyville.
Yep.
You play it one more time, and I'm going to unplug your computer. And I said, over my cold dead hands. So I played it again.
Of course he plays
It wasn't me that told him that.
No, it wasn't him. No. So we don't hear it up there in the press box. So that's just something we do. But anyway, I hope we have great success up at Page on Friday night.
I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a nice little match.
You going to cover it?
I will be there.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah. I've not had a chance to see Page this year. I did see him last year. They've got nice little running back quarterback combination. They had a few guys to throw it to last year, but I think most of those guys graduated. But the quarterback Van Landingham's kind of a dual threat guy, sort of like Darian.
Yeah.
And the running back is a sophomore who went for almost 1,000 last year as a freshman. Some folks down here know him because he played his middle school ball at Spring Hill. But they've got some talent on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, something happened last night in the freshman game, and Eddie can tell better than I can about what happened to the very first play. They took the ball. The guy stepped into the
End zone.
Page got the ball, stepped into the end zone. He should have been a touchback, but he ran it all the way back for a touchdown. We're thinking, what? Well, then on the very next kickoff and the very next play, I'll let you take it.
Yeah, there's a special needs kid that dresses. They had him dress out wearing number 70, and they lined him up as a wideout, and it was already pre-planned. Both sides were in on it, but anyway, quarterback tosses him the ball. He catches it, and they just kind of, trot down the field. There are players all around him, and they're cheering him on and all this stuff. And, of course, he gets to score a touchdown. So, and that made that kid's night. It just,
It was special.
It's special when somebody can do something like that for a kid,
Yeah.
when two teams can come together and do it.
And I think with the opening kickoff, we found out why it was done was because of the play that we were allowed to do.
Yeah.
So, we kicked it off to them. The guy actually foot went into the end zone. Should have been a touchback. But the official just let it go. He started down the sideline. None of our players went after him. I mean, they just like they were stuck in quicksand, And I said, what's going on? What's wrong with these guys? And then when they kicked off to us and then the first play that we did, I said, now I know what happened.
Yep.
A few years ago, I was at a middle school wrestling match, and you guys have probably seen this, but there was a special needs young man who wrestled against the middle school that my girlfriend's son was wrestling for, actually, and he pinned one of our kids, and it was on Good Morning America, and it's been about 6 years or so ago, I guess now, but things like that, again, it's just so meaningful to that individual kid and to the folks around him and that kind of thing. And when you can do something like that, it's really something special.
That's the reason I really enjoyed the Chevrolet's homecoming the other night, is the fact that the girl that they selected for the Queen was a special needs student, and and it seemed like all the crowd and everything was, having a big time with that.
Yeah.
But it's fun to witness things like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's really a special thing there, because somebody really had to give up something. Somebody who would have been the queen gave up something for her to have that opportunity.
Yep.
Great experience. Chevrolet's not all bad.
No, they're not. No. I've got some relatives
over there, Coach.
I've got some friends over there. Yep. Rusty Reed with WLIJ is one of my best friends, and I do a lot of things for Rusty, and he does some stuff for me. So
you used to have a stable over there with my last name painted.
Yeah,
on
he
each
did.
end.
I remember that.
He did.
Remember that.
Yeah. Always knew how close I was getting to Shelbyville when I saw the Bobo stable. That is true.
Yeah, people ask me, said, they kin to you? I said, yeah, but they don't know it.
No money be flowing into Murray County from over there.
The Bedford County Bobos.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, you got anything else? We're gonna wrap this thing up here in a minute or so, and then we'll be out for the next 2 weeks.
Well, go Lions Friday night, and get here into the season for the Vols.
And we're hosting the cross country region Thursday, 3 to 5 in Murray County Park.
Okay.
All right.
And thanks. I will give a shout out to Southern Athletic Fields and Bill Marbett and the guys, Wayne Lindsay and all the guys, making Lindsey Nelson Stadium look great for homecoming this past Friday night, because we kind of did things differently this year where we had senior night before we did the homecoming. So thanks to all those guys who get out there. And I saw the lion head painted one day, and I went, golly, I didn't know there was so much work done with that.
Yeah,
Incredible.
They're wonderful.
So they do a great job. They really do a good job.
And
so,
they did a great job with the whole stadium. They did
Yeah.
almost like a spring cleaning to get everything in shape, and really looked great.
It did. All right, guys. So for everybody on the All the Ball Sports Show, we will see you in 2 weeks. It's pizza time from True Love's Pizza and Grits.